Guess it's Chalk. It is Tamika Austin with Teamster Talk. We are sitting here with Local 267. So I'm gonna have you guys introduce yourselves.
Good morning, Mike Covid, Principal Officer, Local 267, Fort Collins, Colorado.
Earth Lindsay, President.
Boyd Cook, trustee.
Reed Guard, trustee.
Kenny Rodriguez, trustee.
Cool. So what's so cool about Local 267 is you guys only represent Budweiser.
It is cool, but it is certainly a problem for us at times. We definitely need to build our membership. But yeah, we represent the members at the Anheuser-Busch Brewery. We roughly have about 500 members that work up at the plant right now.
And that's an important job. So full disclaimer, I do not drink beer,
That's
but I know a lot of people that drink beer.
and we can probably try and convince you before you go home today that you need to start drinking beer. And a lot of it, by God.
For the Teamsters, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm up in that country.
Well, right now, I don't know if people are aware, but we have a huge national boycott against Miller Coors. We have a strike going down in Dallas Fort Worth. Our brothers and sisters are on strike. They've been on strike for about 7 weeks, and it's definitely Miller Coors is not held up to their end of their bargain. They have made a huge amount of money over the last several years, and they don't want to pay our members, and they're holding strong on the lines down in Fort Worth, and we want to send a shout out to them.
Absolutely.
Rick Medina and his crew, they've been doing a great job. The members are strong down there. Just Sean O'Brien paid a visit down there a couple weeks ago and did a rally. It was just an amazing day, and we just want to give a shout out to the local down there.
Absolutely. Fort Worth, my hometown. Shout out to the leadership down there. I personally know Tori Parker. I hope you listen to this episode. All of my family in Texas, go stop by and support our Teamster brothers and sisters down there at Coors. So, first, I'm going to start with you, then I'm going to come back to you, Mike. So, tell us what you do.
I'm a brewer here in Fort Collins.
So, you work at,
In the brewery.
okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So yeah, the only officer that's not in the brewery is Mike. Those guys are all working in the brewery.
So, you have to dummy it down for me because I'm not a beer person. So, when you say you're a brewer, what does that mean?
Just make the beer anywhere from unloading the grain that the beer's made out of to adding hops to taking the wood out of the chip tanks to sending it out to packaging.
That sounds like a very complicated job.
No, I can do it. It's not. If I can do it, it's not that complicated.
Seems like there might be some type of science in there. There's got to be.
There is in the brewing process science, but for the most part, it's years of experience. Anybody can do it once you've done it for a while.
Okay, I'm gonna trust you, but I'm just saying right now, never trust me to make beer. I think it's a bad idea. And then, Boyd, what do you do with brewery?
I work right beside this knucklehead.
So you both are experts. I'm gonna rename you. You guys are experts in distributing in the chemical science of brewing. That's what I like that.
We make the beer and then we send it out to the packaging scum. So
Oh wait, let me guess. On the other side of the table, we have the wonderful Reed and Kenny.
That's correct.
So you guys are the packaging specialists. That's what we name everybody's job. I've been doing really well doing that this week. What do you guys do?
I drive a forklift, load trucks, unload trucks.
See, that's a job that
We
UPS
get it out the door.
See, UPS would never trust me with a forklift. They trust me with the brown truck, but they know if they put me behind the wheel of a forklift, I'm telling you right now, I'm taking out everything. And
I've
you-
never hit anything that anybody's seen.
I have. I'm Kenny Rodriguez. Worked in the warehouse for quite a few years, but recently I've changed the safety department. So now part of the safety department out at the brewery for the whole brewery.
And safety is really important. So I think people kind of forget that we as teams, we want us to be safe because we want us all to get back to our families. So
Out at the brewery, I think everybody's got safety. Nobody wants to go home different than they came into work. They want to go home with their 10 fingers, 10 toes, and safe and be able to get back to their family. I think everybody tries to be safe. Because sometimes there's some stuff that they can't prevent. We're there to try and help them mitigate those issues.
because I know with UPS, we've written it into our contract And I think a lot of people don't realize that it's not the companies that are trying to keep people safe. It's actually the union
Well,
who is probably well, not probably, we are more concerned with people's safety. And it doesn't matter what company you are at. Teamsters and unions are at the forefront of safety for workers. We don't just talk about it, we really live it. Would you not agree with that?
I agree completely with that.
Okay, so let's talk about the big elephant in the room. You guys had a couple rallies. I saw you guys got a lot of support from the community about when you guys are possibly going to strike. Would you guys explain it to like us regular people? What happened?
Well, this was a long journey, and I was thinking about it last night. I knew we were going to be doing this podcast, and I figured we'd get into the contract. We really started this process back in May, roughly 12 months ago. We visited our sisters and brothers at the Merrimack Brewery to do a proposal meeting, and the process was a long journey. It was very interesting. Truth be told, we started really bargaining with the company in September of 23, and things weren't going well. We had a big insurance agreement with the company. It's a $500 million deal to bring all of our second tier employees up on the what we call our legacy insurance. And our folks that got hired after April 1 of 2019 were paying an unreasonable amount of money in co-pays and deductibles to the tune of $8,000 a member. So that was untenable for our members to live with. We got that settled, and then we asked the company to start bargaining job protection, job security, and the company absolutely refused to come to the table. They would not meet with us. They would not bargain with us. And we pushed back and pushed back. We refused to meet with them after they wouldn't meet with us. We finally got to the table at the 12th hour. The company came back with a ridiculous proposal on job security, wages, you name it. And then from there, we gave the company a pre-ratified offer towards February 1. The company came back with another ridiculous counter proposal to our proposal. And then ultimately at the 12th hour, the international got involved, the general president, general secretary, treasurer, the director of the Brewery Conference, Jeff Padalero, Gabe Dumont, and they put the final touches together on a historic labor agreement that we ultimately, as a committee, all 12 agents from across the country, unanimously recommend to bring back to our members. And that contract was ratified by, I believe, 86% of our membership. It was a historic contract, $8 in wage increase, $4 in the first year, historic pension contributions. We brought our pre-65 people up. They were paying roughly $300 a month for insurance. That is gone away as of the 1st of April. They no longer have to pay for their pre-65 health insurance. It's just an outstanding contract. We only had 20 people in Fort Collins, roughly, that voted no on the contract. So that tells me it was a great deal. And, fortunately for me, and I have a great executive board. They did yeoman's work while Earth and I were traveling out of town during bargaining, doing the practice picketing. I can't thank Local 455, Local 17, the Joint Council. Dean and his crew just knocked it out of the park. Local 17, just everybody in the Western region just really helped us out. And the rally that we had on January 5th just really, just it really solidified what it meant solidarity wise, and to see everybody come out, retirees, members, other local unions, besides the Teamsters, the people that worked at grocery stores, the IBEW, the pipe fitters, everybody was out in force on a freezing cold day with the wind blowing about 40 miles an hour. It was really amazing. It makes me feel good to say that I'm in a brotherhood and sisterhood, and I truly mean them words. It was amazing. And Sean O'Brien coming out, of course, nobody wants to hear anybody talk besides Sean, and he was amazing. Of course, with the General Secretary Treasurer also, Fred Zuckerman, they were great, and they visited the plant, met with our members, And man, you talk about the interaction with our members was just outstanding. So, and from that visit, I do believe one of the historic things we got in this contract was the company returned our 7th and 8th weeks of vacation for people that have 25 and 30 years of service. Sean O'Brien heard it loud and clear inside the plant, and he held the company's feet to the fire at the 12th hour. They didn't want to give it to us, and he told them we're not leaving until we get it, and we got it. So it was amazing. And I know some people don't like the 25 and 30 years, but ultimately we got it back. It's something I never thought we'd get back in our lifetimes, and we got it back.
That's pretty cool. And see, that's the whole thing is when I'm listening to what you're saying about the issue that you were having with your contract and the fact that the company refused to bargain in good faith, that seems to be a consistent theme with companies because you guys just went through your contract. UPS went through theirs last summer. And I don't think people understand. And especially with your board being made up of rank and file, we as members, we all have our families to feed and it becomes a brotherhood and a sisterhood. So then the stress of being like on an executive board and worrying about if you're going to take your people out on strike, we do not take strikes lightly. It wasn't like you said, well, we're mad because we don't get M&Ms in the break room. Everything you said were things that affect people's daily lives and how they feed their families. And I don't think these companies understand. When we bargain together, when we fight, we win.
Look, my position is, look, ultimately the members in the last bargaining contract, 2018 and in 2019, we essentially buried the unborn. It was a huge mistake on our part. In that time, I believe our leadership wasn't as strong as it is today at the IBT. And that was the first thing that was going to go away. We had 41% of our membership at roughly all last year. And by the time the contract was expired, it was over 45% of our membership was on a second tier health insurance. They could have put us on the street with that. The company knew that they essentially took advantage of us in the last contract, but the membership ultimately voted it in. So it really was on us, but that is the first thing we got back. Like I said, the insurance package alone was historic. It was $500 million deal. And the great thing about our retiree insurance, our pre-65 insurance, it is bought and paid for in perpetuity. So anybody in the future in Fort Collins with the right amount of service and age 62, depending on when you started in the brewery, possibly even 60, will get full health insurance until age 65. So, that's one of the highlights of the contract that, some of our members I don't believe see, but it's definitely very important. It's a big number. The company was not happy about it. They thought they were going to rest on their laurels once they gave us the insurance and not have to worry about anything else. And we were not having it. There's no doubt domestic production in the United States and all breweries is down. And we felt that we definitely need to protect our young people and our people in some of these other breweries that ultimately may close moving forward. A few years ago, we ran 100 million barrels worth of beer, and now we're roughly going to do 60 million barrels this year. So that is a big hit for our company and our membership for sure.
So I have a question for the rest of the board since you guys work at the brewery. How do you guys when you guys got this historic contract and you got these members immobilized, how did you guys get the members involved? Because the one thing about we've noticed is that there seems to be a disconnect between I would just say it. I'm older. Everybody knows I have no problem saying my age. I will be 48 this year, but for some reason, the Lord gave me Annie Smith genes. And so these younger people feel like I'm close to their age, and I'm not. I'm an old person. And so I'm always curious as to how you guys bridge that gap between us older people who are used to, like I've said before, we've been taught to work, 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 and then we get to the end. And the young people think differently. They want a different work-life balance, which sometimes I understand and sometimes I don't. So how did you guys get the membership to get involved? Because he said, what was it, 86% voted?
Right.
You only had 20 people that said no. So out of those 20, how did you get the rest of the, what you guys got, 500 people?
Roughly 500.
So I'm bad with numbers. 480 people said yes. How did you get the 480 to say I'm in?
Well, the number one, I think, thing for the young people was the health insurance. Anybody hired after 2014 2019 was getting a different tier of health insurance. That was almost over. That tier of people could have swung the contractor loan. Yet bringing them up to the second tier, that was the number one thing that these guys want. So we already had almost roughly 50% of the membership on board with the health insurance, and throwing the wages, the vacation. I mean, we were over 94% vote in Fort Collins, I believe. So yeah, it was a no brainer for our membership here.
Well, one thing to add to that though, with the help of Kenny and the rest of the e-board, we built the committee from the inside out, right? It wasn't what Mike Kova did or Earth Lindsay. It was Kenny and Reed, Josh Laura, one of our other executive board members, and Boyd, and all the shop stewards on the floor. Kevin Kohlberg, another one of our e-board members. We built a committee from inside, and look, we Kenny, I mean, we hounded our members, right?
Yeah,
I mean, pretty much.
between
Yeah.
text and the stewards talking to the stewards on each ship would go talk to each member, and they would tell them, "Hey, we've got a practice picket tomorrow that we need everybody to be at," and they understood, and they showed up. A very, very high percentage of those members were showing up, whether it was windy out, whether it was sunny out, whether it was dark out. Still, we did some of them on midnight shift for those guys. We catered to those guys. We said, "We'll do it when you guys want to, as long as we get people to show up." And we had a lot of people show up, but it was because the stewards were knowledgeable and what times were going on, what was going on. Mike was having meetings. We were letting everybody know that e-board was knowledgeable. Everybody knew what was going on. And those guys went out there and they were practice picketing and run your practice picketing. You build solidarity. When you're out there walking and you're carrying a picket sign, and we all know it was for practice at that point, but it sent a message to the company that we were not joking around. And I think everybody just kind of built solidarity around that when we were out there walking around. We did it quite a few times. I think we did it 6, 7, 8 times. It was quite a
Yeah.
few times.
I mean,
Well, it was a work in progress too. So many of our members had never seen labor unrest since 1998. So there was only probably about 30 to 40 guys that were around in the 98 contract that had been part of practice picketing. Now everybody's out in it, and we really didn't know what we were doing. It wasn't until um, local 455 came up and really led by example in 17 and showed us how militant we needed to be and how marching and chanting and getting the big numbers. That was a huge help for us.
Well, I think adding to that too, the way the UPS contract came out and
Mhm.
the tone from the international and our negotiating team was just completely. I've been there since the place opened. The tone was way different than I've ever seen before, and it obviously worked out fantastic.
We definitely set the tone at the table by the direction of the Brewery Conference director, Jeff Padalero, and Gabe Dumont. There's no doubt that the previous, I don't know, Boyd, how many contracts have we done? 3 together, possibly 4.
5 more,
Then maybe
yeah.
this is our 4th one. The company took the bull by the horns this time with the leadership of Sean O'Brien from the first week. He came in and set the tone, and Director Padalero definitely did not hesitate and really just kicked the door in on the company. And look, the social media side from the international was something that our members, they just couldn't believe some of the stuff that we were posting. And I'll be honest with you, it was fun. It energized our members. When we post that stuff up. The other thing is, we have a great office leader down here, Lori, and we would, text her all hours of the day, sometimes into the night, and say, "Hey, you need to put this up on our Linked Union app," and she would send it out right away. Our members would get it. They would get engaged. Kenny would be on them, and we did the, face-to-face contact, similar to what you guys did at UPS. Building your campaign, right?
Well, yeah.
And it's important. And members said to me afterwards, "Oh, this practice picking, I can't believe we wasted all our time. It just didn't seem right." That's just so not true. You have to start there in case you would go on strike. Look, I've never walked the strike line other than when I was a child with my father, right? And now that I would spend some time down in Dallas Fort Worth with our brothers down there, I see how much there is to a strike. And if you don't do some practice picketing, you have no idea what you're in for, bottom line, because it is a fight. And when you're out on the street, when you're on the outside looking in, it is a fight. You're in a fight for your life. That's the bottom line. And I can't thank our members enough for doing it. I know some of them didn't agree with it, some of them didn't like it, but ultimately it worked out for us in the end.
And I think members should understand. Okay, so when we were practice picketing for UPS, the reason why you're practice picketing is so these companies know this is not a game. We are not playing. And I agree with you with the leadership that Sean has taken because, you know, nothing wrong with previous people, but it's kind of different when you see one, the way he interacts with members. When he came to UPS, to my facility, it mobilizes the members because he's like so like charismatic and he's smiling and he's walking around. He walks too fast for me. I'm not doing it. I'm not built for that. I'll pass out and die. But the members love it. They love seeing him. And then he's shaking your hand and he's being a regular person, which is what most Teamsters are. And then when we're practice picketing, what's funny is the company, they are so conniving. They sat there and told our management, oh, they're just, it's not going to happen. But when they saw 400 people sitting in front of UPS and we're chanting and we're being aggressive, then they get nervous because they're like, oh, they're not playing. This isn't a game. It was never a game. We are never playing when it comes to people being able to provide for their families and this being solidarity. And when we fight, we win. We can't just say fight and it be a passive word. There has to be some action behind it. And I think that's what Sean brings to it. It's not just chanting anymore. It's when we fight, we win. Okay, and we're going to show you, we're going to stand out here and we're going to practice picketing. This is not a game.
Absolutely. I just, look, I just can't thank, well, really, I mean, 455, we did a couple practice pickets when Earth and I were out of town, and we kind of expressed to Kenny and the rest of the shop stewards and e-board kind of what we wanted to see. And I think it was hard to, if you've never done it, it was really hard to envision what it should look like, right? And Earth and I were back in town, and we got Kenny and the rest of the board, and local 455 came up, and we pulled some of your guys' leadership aside and said, "Hey, man, we need to show what needs to get done on this thing instead of just standing on the side, just looking at each other and bullshitting about what you did for the weekend. It's about walking the line and making your presence known. Look, people didn't think it was that important. When we showed up that day, we had the joint council truck up there. Shout out to Spencer for letting us use the truck that day. The managers were standing in the window and they were beside themselves. They had all the bosses go out the back gate because they didn't want them to come through our gate, which is what you have to do, right? You have to get their attention. And when they're standing up in the mezzanine looking down on us, they know we're being serious, right? Bottom line, that's just the bottom line. So
The community support is important. We don't want you just to say you support us. We want you to show up at our practice picketing. We want you to realize that if something happens to Budweiser, God forbid, like this impacts the communities because these are families that live in your neighborhood, your neighbors who are impacted by Budweiser succeeding. We don't want Budweiser to fail because if they fail, then that's our members and their jobs. So when we say we want community support, we want politicians out there. Like, you want our vote? Guess what? We want to see you out here practice picking with us. And don't just say that and tell me you put it on your social media because I'm going to go look on your Facebook, Instagram, and if I find you on Snapchat, I'll go there too. Just so we're clear. We want politicians, if they want our money and they want our support, and they do, and you and I both, we all know this, then we expect for you guys to support us and our members. And if we're telling you that Budweiser doesn't want to pay for insurance, they have all these excuses on why they have these things that they do that don't support workers, we want you to hold them accountable because we can hold them accountable with our workers, but you can also hold them accountable at the Capitol.
look, there's just no doubt on the politicians. Look, I think for a long time, the Teamsters and organized labor in general have given a lot of money to these candidates and never really held their feet to the fire. But I will tell you right now, that has stopped from what I can see from the IBT, the joint councils, other local unions, especially from 455. If you're afraid to say the word union, you're not going to get anything from us, bottom line. And not just say it in front of the union members' face, but stand up in front of the microphone when we're not watching and say it to the other local leaders, other local politicians. You can't be afraid to say it. You got to say the word. You got to do what you mean when you say you support organized labor, bottom line.
100%. Because what members need to understand, and not just members, because we have other people that are not unionists who listen to this podcast. You have to understand, unions don't just fight for us. We are fighting for everybody. We're fighting for you. We're fighting for the people that work at McDonald's. You have to understand, if unions aren't out here fighting for workers, it impacts everybody. Because look, you ain't got to listen to me. A lot of y'all have Google. Go Google and realize the things that unions have contributed to safer work environments, 5-day work week, overtime. We don't have 6-year-olds working at factories anymore, not because politicians and these businesses are so nice, because unions got involved. So when we're talking about just Teamsters, we're not talking about Teamsters because, like you said, there was support from all the other local unions. And then wasn't there a couple politicians that actually did show up?
No, there was no doubt that, the crazy thing is the politicians that supported us on our big rally on January 5th, where the General President Sean O'Brien was here, and General Secretary Treasurer Zuckerman, and Jeff Pedler, Director of Brewery Conference, Gabe Dumont, our lead counsel. They were actually getting phone calls from the AB lobbyists asking them why they were coming to Fort Collins to support our cause. It's really crazy that the company would go to that depth of despair to go after local politicians when they want to come up and support our cause. I mean, it just really blew my mind. But I guess I should expect no less.
Well, when you think about it, lobbyists literally are paid. So for everybody who's in Colorado, we are in general session right now. So there are lobbyists, and you can Google what a lobbyist is. I'm going to give you a short version. They are paid people to look out for special interests that support their causes. So all these laws that are being passed, because it irritates my soul when people go, I didn't know that was happening. Well, if you go to the Colorado State Government website, I'm pretty sure you can follow a couple links and you can find out all the potential laws that they're passing. There are lobbyists that literally sit down there and they are not looking out for you. They are looking out for corporations. So what stops them on the worker side is unions looking out for the worker. So there's a lobbyist, and there are union lobbyists, by the way. But we as unions are looking out
We're the
for
good
work.
guys, though.
We're the good guys. We're definitely the good guys. And just so you know, if you live in Colorado, you can go down to the Capitol. It's our capital. I'm not just saying this. I'm not making this up. I've been there a couple times. You can go down there and you can go question your elected officials. I've questioned mine a couple times, and you can go have conversations with them and ask them, why don't you support this cause? You should be holding them accountable.
On December 20th, the company dropped the proposal on us. And, we were thinking we were going to take a little rest for Christmas, spend some time with our families. We weren't going to have to travel. And, myself and the other agents were talking, I can't believe they did this right before Christmas, 5 days before Christmas. And then all of a sudden, I was talking to one of the other agents from Jacksonville. I said, the only way this could probably be worse is if they showed it to our members. And he's like, maybe that would be a good thing. Well, as it turns out, it was, because 10 minutes later, the company did drop that proposal on our members. And they were so pissed off by the company's proposal. I think initially it was like a $4 an offer, $4 an hour offer over 5 years. It was meager amounts of money. No job security, no job protection, no nothing. And that day, within a couple days, that's when we decided that Sean O'Brien could attend and Fred Zuckerman could come out and we're going to do the rally. And I'll be honest with you, it wasn't the Christmas I was hoping for. We had a good time. My kids were here with my grandkids, but ultimately it was a ton of work for our local union, our executive board, our Lori Schlaber, our office person, myself, Kenny did yeoman's work. And look, you have it in the back of your mind. You set all this stuff up. The general president's coming, local 455, and then when I saw the crowd up at the tour center at the plant that day, everything else was fine. But if you don't get the crowd, there's no sense in having a rally. You're just wasting your time. And, we had help from other local unions with their trucks. The joint council truck is, I mean, that thing's amazing, right? It was great before, but now the new wrap on it and the job that Jake has done on making the truck look so amazing. It's just such a showpiece for us and our membership. And I think it's something as a joint council in Denver and surrounding areas, Fort Collins, that we need to use as our tool to drive future members into the three locals in Colorado. But yeah, the rally itself was just over the top. I was shocked.
Not just that, I think that Teamsters have such a history of being badass, which is what's kind of cool because, like, I don't think if people really looked at the history and you just really realize how like much they used to contribute to the community and how it used to be a time where if somebody got stranded on the side of the road, you would tell your kid, hey, go find a Teamster that'll help you. There's all this community aspect of it that I wish people understand. I tell people all the time, people always think about the, mob part of the Teamster history. And I'm like, no, but there's this other part that's like super cool that talks about women and minorities and the fact that we were the first of our kind of like to do a lot of stuff. Like our contract was written for people. They didn't care about what race. They don't care if you're a girl. They said, no, this contract is written for people. But then there's this community aspect of it. I've talked about it before, where it's a brotherhood, it's a sisterhood. I always tell my family in Texas, I got this huge family in Texas, and then I got this huge Teamster family, which I can say, with our joint council, I'll go ahead and shout out Erin, Montana, and Jessica in Idaho. I got all these sisters and brothers who I can count on. And so when we're building these rallies, it's about we want the rest of the community to love our family as much as we love our family. And that's what this whole thing is.
Yeah, I'll give you a perfect example. This weekend, Carla out of Local 104 out of Phoenix, she had a huge crowd of people supporting the members out of Fort Worth this weekend at the Final Four. They're out there hand billing. That doesn't happen without the leadership of the joint council, Carla and her great local in Arizona. I mean, they do such an amazing job. But when you see pictures posted on Facebook with that group out there hand billing before the finals of the NCAA, it's amazing, and that's what it's about. You got to grow that community support. There's just no doubt about it. So,
and see, that's what I love. Like, and I always tell people, being active in a union does not mean you have to be me. You don't have to be me. You don't have to be you. You don't have to be anybody in this executive board. You can just be a regular person. I'm going to shout out a couple of my bestest friends, the Erics, the Abus, the Butch, all those guys who literally they're members. But if I call them and tell them we're having a rally, I bet you money they're going to show up to support because they get the fact that they are my brothers and sisters in my local, and they just happen to become a family.
we need to get our younger membership involved. There's no doubt about it. I think sometimes it's easy because really none of us, including myself, we've never really fought for any of the stuff that we've got. We've just been given this contract, right? I mean, we fought for this contract, but the actual labor agreement that we work under, our predecessors have fought for that. The last time we've had any labor disruption at Anheuser-Busch was in 1976. So we have walked in the door and you get this labor agreement. You don't really realize that your predecessors fought very hard for it. As far as local stuff, right? You guys think in Denver it's bad. Try and be in Fort Collins. You can't go anywhere without seeing one of these managers around here. And they think they can shit on you at work. And then when they see you outside at a restaurant, that everything's going to be hunky dory. I got news for you. We have long memories. I mean, we don't forget that stuff, right? I mean, sometimes it's uncomfortable, but you're right. We do work in the community with these bosses, and it's part of the deal, especially in a town like Fort Collins.
Have you guys ran into your bosses? Because that was yeah, it was funny because the owner of the restaurant loves me to death, and so I think he thought he was going to be mean to him. I'm like, why would I be mean to you in my happy place?
He spiked his oatmeal.
I thought about it.
I think something that was crazy at that route, the big rally we had where we had everybody support the 4-5 and general president, and everybody was there. The families that were there, who had workers there that had their fathers that were there, their mothers were there, but they also had their little kids there. They were all bundled up because it was like Mike said, it was blowing 40 miles an hour. It was cold that day. They had, their kids were there was little kids there. There was some babies there that were all bundled up and wrapped. But there was tons of kids sitting in the chairs listening and clapping and raising their hand in their fist too. I think that was great to see. Everybody from all ages were there.
Look, there's no doubt that what you say about the community is just absolutely true. A livable wage, right? Look, I do believe that in this contract, $8 over 5 years really is it's a monumental amount. In the past labor agreements, we have never even come close to this amount of money. And look, our members have been hurt over the last year and a half with the Bud Light boycott. And it's really not coming back that much. But some of our members are down quite a bit. We used to work quite a bit of overtime, and that overtime has definitely dried up over the last couple of years. So it has hurt our members. But ultimately, a $4 an hour wage increase right out of the gate has helped our members out somewhat. It doesn't make up for a lost Saturday or Sunday, but it's there. So hopefully the overtime will come back soon. Some of the Bud Light production will come back to Fort Collins, and our members will be a little happier. I believe we get some of that overtime back.
I'll make a deal with you. I still probably won't drink.
You got to start drinking for
But
Christ's
I will. I will
There's
support.
nothing better
I will buy more other people beer to
sake. Okay,
support the
you're on.
cause.
You're on.
See,
That's awesome.
see, look,
I love it.
see, that's
Yeah,
teamwork.
I'm with you, girl.
Still not gonna
I'm
drink
with you. I'm with you. When they do a job cut, they're always going to blame us, right? When they change a safety rule or safety procedure, it's always going to be our fault. Whether we did anything to propagate that or not, it's always going to be our fault, right? Because we're the lowest common denominator, and they can just blame us, and then we have a hard time defending ourselves, even though it's not true. It's not necessarily us that caused the problem, but we're the easy target.
We're the easiest target.
I think that's changing a little bit, especially, in light of, the UPS contract, the AB contract, the freight contract. I think that the Teamster vision is definitely waken some CEOs' eyes, and we shouldn't be taken lightly. That's what I say.
I agree. And I think the members should take that power that we're telling them about and realize that when these companies have you in the room and they're trying to scare you or make it seem like your union stewards are mean people, I've been called mean a couple times. We're not mean. We're there protecting our workers. And so it's not that the Teamsters doesn't want Anheuser-Busch or UPS to make a profit, because let's just be honest, you got to make a profit because that's how we get paid. But why can't we just do the right thing, aka UPS, Anheuser-Busch, and bargain in good faith so that you guys win, we win, and not just that. It's something about when people can feed their families and they can provide for their loved ones that makes them better workers, which means what's crazy? If you're not stressing me out and I could just deliver packages and do my job, or you can just brew and package, oh my God, what happens when you have happy workers? They do a good job. Isn't that a win?
These guys aren't ever going to be happy.
They've been happy with me.
Well, this is a little different. This is they're out of their element here. They're not going to be mean to you. I mean, look at you
Oh,
smiling all the time.
terrorize people's lives.
I guess, the one thing you say about shop stewards, in the building, to be honest with you, this journey over the last 12 months, really, we couldn't have done without our shop stewards. And, everybody sitting at this table is a shop steward inside the plant or an alternate shop steward. It's just impossible to do business agent work without the shop stewards on the shop floor. There are ears, there are eyes, there are mouthpiece. They hold the company's feet to fire.
So, how do you guys keep the solidarity going after you got your contract ratified?
Well, I think with the new health insurance as well, we'll start. We got health insurance meetings because a lot of the younger people, 40%, 50% coming up. That will help. And once they realize the benefits of that, and then we just going to have to keep doing it on the shop steward end.
So, I have a weird question because I don't remember. I know at some point the kids do not come off our insurance till 26. So, I think these young kids should realize at some point if it switches to where you come off sooner than that, then they go back to where I was when I was a kid. When I turned 18, I was not on my mother's insurance and I was on my own. So if at some point that ever changes, then that's why these kids should really be concerned about insurance, because That's a whole different discussion about the medical field and, the people and the pharmaceutical industry. Insurance costs go up, medication go up.
Well, the age of the insurance is definitely, part of Obamacare, and that goes back to, you get who you vote for, right? And without that, your kids would still be in that graduate high school off the insurance if they're not going to college. If they were going to college, they'd still be covered. 26 is because of Obamacare. You can crap all over Obamacare if you want, but I know, my youngest, when she got out of college, she had a part-time job for a little bit and she stayed on my insurance and it was great. 6 months later, she got a full-time gig, but she used our insurance as a secondary to it. It's a big deal.
It's a
But
huge.
look, we, ultimately, like I said, we are trying to keep our young members engaged and involved. It is a difficult task. There's no doubt about it. But the shop stewards and myself, the rest of the e-board, we're gonna, try and keep pushing that cart forward to keep them involved. So
I think the solidarity too that you're talking about between the younger and the older, I think when we were going through all this, when it started in September and we had the rally in January and the practice picketing, everybody was worried about the same things. Everybody was worried about it. They talked to each other. They were leaning on each other on the shifts to the stewards. They were leaning on everybody. I think that built a lot of solidarity. That's hopefully is going to last for quite a while. They understood. They trusted each other. Everybody was working. We were all in the same boat. We all knew what was going on. We were all worried. Everybody was worried. So I think that just knowing you could count on each other to talk to or have somebody to lean on when you were, having a bad day, worried about it. I think that's going to last for a while, the solidarity there.
What can we learn from the people that came before us back then? I'm gonna ask y'all all to give me different answers too.
I think the people that came before us really set an example of what it is to be in a union. I think that there's always some leadership at the top, but there's always some people that go unstated that really drive home what it is to be in a family, a union family with solidarity, watching out for each other, taking care of each other when the chips are down.
I agree. I'm telling you, you guys are all my family. Literally my whole family's in Fort Worth. Well, the whole state of Texas, because there's so many of us. But it's kind of nice to know that I have like Southern family.
Yeah.
Same question for you.
Other than, I mean, it was great to get support from all the retirees during the rally and the practice picketing, local union events. We have the retirees come in, and they experienced back in the day there was a little bit of labor unrest in '98. They had been involved. They were the only ones that have really seen any of that. So it's cool to hear their stories.
Well, for me, I started when the brewery opened, and we had a lot of transfers from the other breweries show up there, and they were just kind of taught you how what the union was about, working together, staying engaged and involved in the union. So I've been on the e-board now for 20 some
Boyd's
years.
the longest serving e-board member we've had for
Wow.
almost
Yeah.
22, 23 years.
Yeah, that means he's really old.
Yeah, he is old.
He's not.
He is old. He don't
He's
look old.
not.
I mean, look at that guy. That's
You don't look old. I don't like to say the word old because that means old, and I don't think I'm old. I just think that I'm like wine.
He's
I'm
experienced.
aging.
Experience. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an experienced bottle of wine. Then
For me, it came from my dad, who was very involved in the union as a firefighter, and he really impressed upon me when I got hired at Budweiser, not just being a part of the union, but to get into leadership and to help grow it. Growth was kind of his big. You need to get involved very much with it and everything. So to me, that kind of looking at that, and then as I got more involved and realized the benefits, it's the it was very
Okay.
important.
okay, it's your then now.
I don't know if it applies, but I've only been at the brewery about 19 years. And I had another job before that for about 15 years, and it wasn't union. And it's realizing when I left that job and came to this job and having a union to back you, what it meant to me to have somebody actually fighting for you and the job security and everything that they gave, the great benefits when you show up compared to what you had before. You realize what a union job really does and what everybody's fought for all these years. That's what they fought for somebody to go from the job I had before to this one was just amazing.
So then the now part is what can like all these younger people than me, what can they learn from us?
Well, I do believe the thing that I wish they would learn is that it's easy to sit there and complain about something and not do anything about it. But if you want to complain about something, get involved. Come talk to us. Tell us what we can do better. Look, I'm easy to get down on different things, but if you come talk to us, sometimes I have a hard time listening, and I do get guidance from my board members, thank God. But we do want to grow, and we do want to take their constructive criticism, move forward, and try and build us. And that's why I say, one of the things I was hoping you're going to ask me is what's next is, we need to grow this local union. We need to keep this local union survivable for our memberships going down the road. That's why we spent some time with Dean and Alan and Herbie last week on possibly changing our charter, doing some organizing up in the Fort Collins, Larimer County region, and building our membership. Look, there's no doubt that local 455 is big dog in Colorado, right? And Dean with his leadership is going to help us do that, and we can't thank him enough for that. Local 455 and its leadership. So, for us, building our membership to make this a sustainable local, not just for us, but for our members, but also for the joint council and everybody in our joint council, because we know that if one of us fails, joint council 3 is going to not be in existence. So we need to really grow that and move forward for some of the smaller locals.
I agree. So when I think about next, like you said, it's sustainability. And the thing I think the community needs to realize when they're listening to this is you realize that when unions, the decline of unions has been a decline of like the middle class.
Absolutely.
So you have to understand that if there's no unions, there's no one to protect you. You kind of need those Teamster thugs that come in to, keep these corporations under control as much as you can, because these corporations do not care about any of us. Like UPS does not care about me. I am a number to them. And as soon as like something, if I'm not there this week, I promise you they're still going to deliver packages. My route's not going to not be put in. They don't care about workers. They don't care about the community. They don't do anything just to be nice. Like they do things to make a profit. And what's crazier that I wish that people got is we're not talking about a little profit. Let's just be honest. Jeff Bezos does not need the billions of dollars. He could distribute that wealth amongst millions upon millions of people and still be a billionaire. Carol Tomei, which I'm allowed to say her name, I forgot how much her newest bonus is. She's gonna be fine. But people should be thinking about the fact that Carol will be able to pay her bills. She's going to go on tons of more trips, way cooler trips than what I'm going on. And she's still going to be able to survive. But if workers can't afford to pay for basic necessities, we're not talking about, prime rib. We are talking about milk, eggs, sugar. If you can't afford to do that and they're making millions, nobody's asking them for millions. We're asking for them to be able to take care of our families. And I agree. That's the next part. I got to get you for now.
Well,
What can they
I think
learn from us?
The best thing I think that came out of this whole experience was the getting our members engaged. And I think that now everybody needs to people need to stay informed, come to the meetings. We're lucky here. We have our local app, and we push out a lot of information to our members. But nothing frustrates we have a great network here at Local 267 from Mike all the way down, all our shop stewards and our e-board. I hear sometimes if they're having a hard time with shop stewards or this and that, and we don't have that problem here at 267. We have great shop stewards, just a great network, but nothing frustrates them more about hearing disinformation on the floor or something that we'll directly talk about at the general membership meeting, and then the shop steward gets 10 questions and they're uninformed questions. People need to come to the meetings. People need to reach out to the shop stewards, but stay informed, get involved in the union, I'd say is the key for now.
I still think the tone is huge right now because it seems like we're having public support. In the past, all the contracts I've been through, we'd end up with last best and final offer, recommend, vote for it. And here we are with all these tiered insurance and vacations. And the tone this last time was, no, we're not going to deal with that shit anymore. We want insurance back. We want our vacations back. Granted, the time frame on the vacations are further out than they are currently for the older folks, but that's something hopefully they can work on in the future. But to me, it's just the tone that we're not going to take any more of that garbage anymore.
I think now and next is kind of for us. I feel like it's kind of the same thing is growth. Work union, live better, and to try and spread that and really show other people and even in the industries about growth and just this is what we got, and I think other people are listening in the area and trying and grow and get other people to have the same advantages.
I like the way you said it. Work union, work live better. I'm probably gonna forget that probably by tomorrow, but right now I like that.
I think the other thing that hopefully everybody learned now or that we take with this is that we had to work for what we got. It took some work. It took some solidarity. With everything we did right now for this contract from the top, from everybody from the top all the way down to the members. All the way through. Everybody had to work. Everybody, through it all, we had solidarity and we got through it. We all were in it. We were all done with it when it was done. But we were all together all the way.
Okay. And then the final one, which we've already talked about, but it's gonna be phrased a little bit differently. What can we learn from the next generation, from these young folks,
God,
besides social media?
I wish I knew. I mean, I will tell you, I'm envious, when I see you folks, the way you post, and, I'm the worst. Look, I creep on people on Facebook. There's no doubt about it. I search the Teamster website or Teamster Facebook page, see what's going on. I don't know how to do any of that. My girls know how to do it, but they really don't do it that much. But when I see you folks doing it, and this is what we're gonna have to learn how to do, right? As leaders, to keep our members informed, is post this stuff and stay on Instagram and whatever, Snap and whatever you guys. I don't even know what it's called, right? And that's one thing I would like to learn. And look, some of our members have volunteered, and we will be taking them up on it, especially as we move in some of this organizing. Look, I want to learn some of our members, the younger guys, how we can engage other younger members in potential organizing efforts moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, Mike touched on, the old way to bargain a contract was to sell to eat the unborn, and to just sell away their future. And I'm hoping the young people from this contract learn, not only do they not want to do that, but they got to protect themselves, they got to protect the future, and they got to protect the past. Like now we've clawed back insurance for retirees. And I think it's going to be the next generation's job to protect what we've gotten back and just to keep going. We won't be here, but they got to protect us. They got to protect their kids. They got to protect themselves. So I think that's going to be the key for the young generation is understanding the burden, not only giving things away, but building every generation, the past, the present, the future.
And you're right, because you guys have how many more years until your next contract negotiation?
5,
So they might want to start.
4, 3.5, maybe. Who knows?
Well, they may want to start working on that now.
Well, let's see. I have 3 kids between 21 and 30. And I personally have faith in that age group to carry on and keep the foot on the throttle.
It's good moisturizer, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think they'll be fine.
Learning from the younger generation.
Mhm.
I think they've got. I think probably I've always been a just work as much overtime and go as hard as I can for if it's there, just take it. I feel like the younger generation might be a little bit better at work-life balance.
I keep
So
saying that.
that's probably something that we could kind of learn from and not just be like, well, I'm going to work every little bit that's out there. And so probably that.
I agree.
I think what we need to learn from the younger generation. I've got an older son, but I've also got a younger daughter who's 15 just now, and she's always trying to teach me new stuff on the phone. Just keep an open mind to all this new stuff that we can learn to make life easier, to do stuff, to communicate better, to feel that we just need to keep an open mind from them to understand that even on getting younger, have the younger generation as stewards and maybe even on the board at some point, just get these guys younger to keep things new and to stay with what the younger generation wants to see.
I agree. It's not all bad.
Yeah.
Like some of the old people are different. Not all younger people are all bad. I'm not going to say that they're all lazy. I'm not going to say all the bad stuff they're used to hearing. I'm not going to be that person that says that. I just like to say that they think differently than we do, but we were brought up in a different time. Because, like,
Yeah.
some of the stuff that I loved doing as a kid now is unsafe. Like, drinking out of a water hose or riding in the back of a pickup truck, and seatbelts were kind of optional.
I'm sorry. I will tell you this, and I've told these guys this story 1,000 times, and I'll say it 1,000 more times. When I started the brewery and all the transfers are in here, you know what they said about us? Boyd and myself and you're not worth a shit.
Yeah.
You are not worth a shit. And you know what we said about Reed and Kenny when they started in the brewery? You guys aren't worth a shit. Do you know what these guys say about these younger guys? You're not worth a shit. It's just not true. Look, it just takes one turn in the punch bowl to wreck it for everybody.
You can pick.
But for the most part, these people are out working every day. They have different interests than we have. They have different lifestyles than I have. But you know what? They look at my lifestyle and think, I can't believe you do that. I look at their lifestyle and say, I never want to have that. That doesn't make them a bad person. It just makes them a lot younger than me and have different interests. So to put the younger generation in this punch and say they're all bad. I mean, I have two young girls. I look at them and I look at their work ethic. They're young, they're in their 30s. I look at their work ethic and think, man, thank God for their mother. That's all there is to it. I mean, they're workers. I look at people inside the plant, younger people. Yeah, there's not everybody's going to work as hard as the next guy, but they're good people. They come to work, they do their jobs, and that's our future. But just to lump them all in one category and say they're not worth a darn, that just incites the shit out of me. I can't stand it.
I like the fact that you got upset about it because I get upset too.
No, it's
But
ridiculous.
I'm like, stop saying that this younger generation, like, they're not bad.
No, they're good people.
They're good kids. I mean, I hope they are. I raised a couple of them. We can't keep telling them everything that they do wrong and then be like, so by the way, we need you. That's not how it works. So I'm saying right now, when my boss is being a dick to me, I'm like, you were just nasty to me and you guys just got on my nerves. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go out and do my job and be safe. But why would I be nice to you now? So I agree with you.
We try to tell our members all the time too that remember a lot of people want to judge the new guys on the shop floor, but everybody was new at one. They don't remember that they didn't know shit at one point either. And now that they do, they want to act like they're irreplaceable. But those young guys, they'll all get it at some point.
And for the record, I just had a discussion with I call him my big brother from when I used to go to church. It was so funny because when I was younger, there was tons of people that said they were like, oh my God, she talks too much and she's combative. Like
That's
they
what
told me I was,
to her.
yeah, and they told me all this bad stuff about me. Oh my gosh, she'll keep her mouth shut and she just has no filter. And now look, I'm a Teamster, I'm a UPS driver, I talk to people, all the bad stuff they told me about me. And now look, and the funny part about the whole thing is the reason why me and him got on that discussion is because he's the one that told me to go get a job at UPS. And it literally was supposed to be like, I'm gonna go work there, I'm gonna lose a little weight, and then I'm gonna quit in a year. And then 20 plus years later, I'm still here. And then now all of you wonderful people get to be terrorized by my presence because the plan was never to be at UPS longer than literally 1 year. I'm going to lose weight. I'm out here. And then 20 plus years later. And people said, I promise you, for everyone who's listening, who used to go to my stepdaddy's church, I hope you all listen to this podcast because you all had nothing nice to say. And now look, I hope everybody's living their best life because I am. Got a little petty there. Sorry. Did you guys have fun?
Yeah.
I was asking.
It was a blast.
You did not know what you were going to get, did you?
No, it's totally a blast. So I appreciate you guys coming up. We got to get busy. We got to
Well, you guys got a keyboard, and
So I really appreciate you guys coming up, and I can't wait to hear the episode.
thank you for listening to Teamster Talk. Use your voice, know your voice. Follow us on all of our social medias, which is TeamstersLocal455.org. We have a Facebook, TeamstersLocal267.org. I don't know if they have a Facebook. Teamster Talk on Facebook and Instagram.